Okay guys, and welcome back. So we're going to solve this quadratic equation by completing the square. And so we're just going to get right into it. So the goal of this particular algorithm is to get this equation right up here to end up looking something like this, where the left side is going to be a binomial that's squared. And so the only way to do this is by completing the square. Here, let me get this out of here real quick. Okay, so whatever problem you have, you want to move everything over to one side of the equal sign. If it looks like mine, then you're good. If you don't have, in this case here, I have a -5, but if you have nothing there, don't worry about it. Just leave some space. If you don't have a x term, in that case, the square is actually already completed. You could just move whatever number you have to the right side of the equal sign, and then just take the square root of both sides and you'd be done. But for right now, this is what you should have. If, when you move everything over to one side and you have a negative sign in front of the x squared term, you could just multiply or divide the entire equation by -1, okay? Or you can move everything over to the right side of the equation, which is more work, so I would just suggest multiplying or dividing by -1. All right. So the first step is to move the constant, in this case here, the last term. Mine is a -5, so yours, whatever it is, you're going to move it over to the right side, okay? So mine's going to come out to be a +5, okay? Then I'm going to write down everything else that I had before. Now, instead of the -5, I'm going to write a plus blank. And on the right side, I'm going to write a plus blank, okay? And the reason for that is because in the algorithm, you're actually adding 0. So by adding the same number to both sides, if they both canceled out, it would just 0 out, right? Whatever number you have wouldn't even matter. So that's kind of the theory behind this. Now, the next step we're going to do is take the middle term on the left side. In this case here, mine is a -4. So whatever you have, including the sign, just write it down and put it over 2. See? And then you're going to take that and square it. Then simplify it down. In my case, I'm going to get a -2 on the inside, and I'm going to square it. That becomes a +4. Now, instead of writing 4 in both blanks, I'm going to write the 4 in the second blank. However, in the first one, I'm going to write -2 quantity squared. It's the same thing. Now, the reason why I have you write that like that, or the reason why I do it that way, is to eliminate any kind of confusion as to what you put down in the next step. Okay? So, in the next step, you set up your parentheses and have a square on the outside, okay? All you're going to do is take the x and take whatever's inside the parentheses and just bring it down. Okay? All right. So now we're done with the left side. What we've actually done on the left side is factored out this polynomial, which is a perfect square trinomial, down to this. That's it. On the right side of the equation, we're going to add these two numbers together, which in my case, it's 9. And I'm going to write equals to 9. The next step is to take the square root of both sides. Okay. Now, when you do that, make sure you write a little bit of space between the equal sign and your square root. Okay. So I'm going to write down the equal sign here. I'm going to actually rewrite this one more time. And on the right side, I'm going to write the 9 over here. Now, when I take the square root, I'm going to write the radical signs, and then I'm going to add a big green positive negative sign, or a symbol right here, in front of the square root 9. Now, the reason why I write that so big here is because that's a common mistake that a lot of students make. They forget to add the plus or minus. So now we just take what's inside the parentheses on the left side. In my case, it's x minus 2. And we write that down. Copy down the equal sign. And then simplify whatever you have in the radical, okay? If you can't simplify it, then don't worry about it. Just leave it that way. But in this case here, it's going to be real simple. I'll have a plus or minus 3, okay? Next step is to move this 2, or whatever you have, to the other side, okay? And so in that case, my negative 2 will become a positive 2. Okay, and now we're almost done. So we're going to have two solutions. We'll have x is equal to 2 plus 3. So that means that x is equal to 5. Or our other solution will be x is equal to 2 minus 3. And so therefore x is equal to negative 1. So our two final answers are x equals 5 or x is equal to negative 1. And if you wanted to check your answer, you could just plug either one of these back into the original equation and then see if you get 0. And then that's it. One thing I should mention about this particular type of problem here, where I essentially just added 4 on both sides, right? I added 4 here and I added 4 here. I could have easily started the problem by writing it this way: x squared minus 4x plus a blank minus a blank, and then have the negative 5 right after that and set it equal to 0. This is the same thing. The only difference is you're just working on the left side of the equal sign, and then you just have to put your respective parentheses in the correct spot. But other than that, it's really the same thing. You'll find that you'll just have to simplify this and move it over to the other side, so that way you'll end up with this right here, okay? That's kind of what ends up happening. Like, that's the goal. Essentially, you want something to look like that. On the next example, I'm going to work out a problem where we have something in front of the x squared term. So there'll be like a number here, okay, or a negative number. Just anything else that isn't 1, all right? So we kind of covered, in this example, we kind of covered what happens if there is a negative sign. I kind of told you that all you got to do is just, you can move everything over to one side, which is kind of a hassle, or you could just multiply or divide by negative 1. But that'll be the next example where we have something where we have a number in front of the x squared term. That just takes a couple more steps, but it's really not that bad. But if this is all you needed, in that case, well, we're done. All right, guys, as always, good luck with your homework and tests in the future, and thank you for watching.